For the culture project, I chose to explore the concept of lingua francas. What is it? It is a common language between speakers. It is used for the purpose of trade and commerce. Lingua francas bring together very diverse groups of people whose native languages are different. It can be one language or the mixture of more than one languages. Many people still speak their local language as their primary language along with the lingua franca of their region. The history of lingua francas. Long ago, regional trade encouraged people to speak one universal language. The first widely known lingua franca combined the language of the Franks with Italian, Greek, Spanish, and Arabic for purposes of trade on the Mediterranean. Recently, the economy has encouraged the global diffusion of English. The lingua francas help people to effectively communicate for trade and commerce. Connection to human geography. Lingua francas allow all different kinds of people to interact with each other through trade and commerce. Without lingua francas, our world would not be as interconnected as it is today. Therefore, lingua francas relate to human geography because they allow people to migrate and still be able to communicate with the inhabitants of their new location. This image shows different types of people trading. This image shows how lingua francas unite all different kinds of people from all over the world. The picture on the left represents our interconnected world. The image on the right shows how lingua francas provide people from all over the world a means of communication. So my first example is a national example. Urdu is the lingua franca of Pakistan. Urdu was selected as the lingua franca of Pakistan in order to make sure that none of the Pakistani languages were given preference. Urdu was also selected in order to unite Pakistan's people. Also, Hindu Urdu was the original language of the Muslims and Hindus in Pakistan until the 1800s, when the two religious groups could not agree on the name of the language anymore. Here's an image of Urdu. My regional scale example is Spanish. Spanish is the lingua franca of Latin America. So some history on Spanish as the lingua franca of Latin America is that the Spanish language became the official colonial language of the conquered. Lastly, my global example is French in the 18th through 20th centuries. Now, English has taken over as the lingua franca of the world since World War II. However, French was the lingua franca of the world for about 3.5 centuries. France was the most powerful European country for a long time. French became the lingua franca of the world after the influence of Louis the XIV, so Louis the 14th. Germany and Italy consisted of various small kingdoms and states. Paris was the center of the high culture of the French. French culture influenced cinema, fashion, and foods from the 17th century to the middle of the 20th century. French was the language of diplomacy and international relations from the 17th century to the middle of the 20th century. French is even spoken all over the world today. Here is an example of the French language on the upper right.